This session is called How to Use Online Public Relations for Link Building. And you're going to be learning about how you can grow your link authority by using online PR. So public relations is typically used to build or manage a company's reputation by using media coverage. And as you've learned in our other videos, link building is the process of getting links from high authority external sites. Well, many news sources out there have incredibly high authority websites that they post their news stories to. Imagine sites like the New York Times, you've got local news outlets, and then you've got tons and tons of high authority bloggers that are blogging about news. So I'm sure you can start to see why these two things can really go hand in hand and help each other out. So we're going to be looking at how you can use these journalists and bloggers and their great high authority sites to get links back to your site. So we're going to cover the online aspects of PR and how you can leverage it to build your link authority. So the best place to start is by talking a little bit about the relationships here, because just submitting a press release isn't going to be enough to succeed. Publications are always looking for new and especially newsworthy content. You know, that's their job. They're always on the lookout and looking for this stuff. But it's worth pointing out that thousands of people are fighting for the attention of these journalists and bloggers. So they're essentially overwhelmed every single day with their email box just loaded full of, please blog about me, please talk about my new product, please, please, please. They get asked this stuff constantly. So having a relationship with this journalist or with this blogger is going to go so far because you're going to stand out from the crowd. We're going to talk a little bit about this in the promotion stage, but I wanted you to really think about this because it's not just about writing a press release and submitting it to a press release site. We're going to do that, but really think about the relationship and think about how you can cultivate relationships with high authority bloggers and how you can take care of that. So let's take a look at the process that we're going to go over here today. So these are the 4 steps that we're going to take a look at. The first being research. The second is writing. And we're going to actually look at writing a press release, submitting it, and then promotion. These are the 4 most important steps for doing any press release, but we're also going to look at a little extra step here in the writing phase when we're talking specifically about SEO. So the first step is research. And because we're doing SEO here, research involves keyword research. So as you've learned in our other videos where we talk about doing research and using the Google Keyword Tool, the same rules apply here. You're definitely going to want to do really good keyword research. Make sure that you're going after a keyword that has as low a competition as possible and as much volume as possible. And again, refer to our other videos to learn more about that if you haven't already. When we're linking, you're going to want to link back to your site in a way that links to a page that's targeting a particular keyword. So you should have already done some research on your site and you know, okay, I know that this particular page is about dog training collars. That's what we're going to be blogging about. So that's what you're going to do a press release for. So you should have some research done. If not, just be sure to do some keyword research because you're going to want to use these keywords in the writing phase to make sure that it's optimized for search engines. You know, one of the interesting things about doing online PR is these press release outlets do host your article, your press release on their site. And they typically have a very, very high page rank because it's a lot of really high quality content. So sometimes what might end up happening is if your blog is relatively new and you don't have a lot of authority yet, by putting the keywords in your press release, the actual press release will start ranking well in Google. So it's something to think about. While you're still building your authority, you can leverage the authority of these PR directories that we'll look at in a second here and try to get your press release up to the top. And then people will see that, learn about your company, perhaps click the link and visit your site. So it's a great way to get referral traffic and leverage their authority while you're still building your authority. So the second step is writing. And I touched on this a little bit in the beginning. And there's a couple of questions that you should always ask yourself because this is what the journalists and the bloggers are going to be asking themselves, especially if you don't have a relationship with this particular blogger or journalist. They're going to want to know, what is the news? Why should I care? And if I do care, who should I contact? Those are the 3 simplest questions that you must answer in your press release. Now, there's a lot more to writing a press release, but these are the core questions because this is exactly what's going to go through a journalist's mind especially when they read the headline and the subheadline. So make sure you're always answering, what's the news? Why should I care? And who should I contact? Other than that, there's only a couple of core areas that you need to worry about. And it's really just a typical article. You've got a headline and a subheadline, both of which need to be very attention grabbing. And we do talk about writing effective headlines in our other videos, and use that advice. That's definitely something you're going to want to do here. Make sure that the headline of this is very, very attention grabbing, because you want other journalists to see it and go, wow, I really need to learn more about this. So you want to grab them straight away with the headline. The second is the body. And in the body is where you're going to be answering the questions, what is the news? That's essentially what the body is. And in there, you can do some social proof. You can put quotes, you can embed videos, and of course, you can put links back to your site. And we're going to do that as well. Then you just put about your company and your contact info, because of course, if they like what they see, they're probably going to want to get in touch with you. If it's a physical product, they might want to get in touch with you because they want a sample that they can review, and maybe they'll write a review for you. So always, of course, make sure that you have your contact info. Now, there's a couple other things that I want to talk about specifically when we're talking about writing a press release. First off, the same rules apply for SEO, for any sort of content creation, whether it's blogging or press release writing. You need to have good keywords. You need to work those keywords naturally into the title and into the body, so on and so forth. Quality is absolutely essential. It has to be a very well-written piece. But other things to consider is that it's newsworthy. You can't just submit a press release with some really sort of light news. I mean, it needs to be something somewhat groundbreaking, a launch of a product or something that's really going to change things for your audience. I mean, give away a free report, a freebie, anything that's going to be something where they'll read it and they'll be like, wow, this is really interesting. It's new. It's something I haven't heard before. So always think about newsworthiness when you're writing these press releases as well. Okay, so let's move on to submitting. Now we're going to be looking at two services today, PR Web and PR Log. So journalists watch these press release sites for content typically that's relevant to their particular news industry, because this is where everybody goes to submit their content. So when they need a press release, they're going to go here, see what's been released, and see what they can use, what they can write about. PR Web is by far one of the largest and most authoritative, but it's also costly. They charge for different levels of press releases, and they charge you a little more if you want to embed a video or need more links or something like that. So it can get a little costly, but of course, that's where most of the journalists are. So submitting there is most likely going to have a decent ROI. PR Log is a free service, and I definitely recommend using it, but it doesn't have as much reach. So you're not going to get in front of as many bloggers and journalists when you use PR Log, but again, it's free. So it's also worth noting that you can submit directly to news outlets. For example, the LA Times and NPR, you could just go straight to their site and submit a press release. However, you can imagine with how many news outlets are out there, how much time that would take. So these aggregation type PR sites are very, very useful. Unless you have a particular publication that you're really trying to get into, maybe it's a niche publication, not something like LA Times or New York Times, but something very, very specific to your industry. Of course, then you might want to give it a shot and submit it directly. But for the most part, and for our intents and purposes here, submitting to PR Web and or PR Log is a great thing to do. Okay, so now let's take a look at each of these services real quick in a browser. Okay, so here is PR Web. Now, this is their homepage, and this is where you're going to go to create a new account so you can submit press releases of your own. But before you do that, I want to show you their news center. This is where the press releases from all their users live, and I'd like to show you a few examples so you can get an idea of what these press releases are going to look like. Okay, so this is their news center, and as you can see, there's a few featured press releases up top, and as we scroll down, there's a whole bunch of various news. So let's take a look at one of them. Okay, this one looks good. The top 10 benefits of electronic medical record systems. So here we go. And as we talked about in the writing step, you have a nice big headline and a subheadline that introduces the article, and then, of course, the body copy. Now, as you can see here in the body copy, they've embedded a YouTube video as well as created a few links back to their site. Now, this is pretty simple looking stuff here, but remember, you're getting a very high authority link back from prweb.com, which is a high authority site. They've got a high page rank and a lot of link authority. So that's really going to help you rank higher for your target keywords. Now let's take a quick look at another example. So as you can see, this one looks very similar. It's the same format. It's got a nice big headline. It's got a great subheadline that's introducing the topic as a whole. And then it's got the body copy. This one also has an embedded YouTube video, which is great. And of course, links back to their site. So if we take a closer look at their links, we can see that they have optimized their anchor text for the keyword phrase business cash advance. So it's almost certain that they definitely submitted this press release for SEO purposes. Let's pop over to PRlog. Now, PRlog is the free alternative to PRweb, and you can submit a press release here. Let's take a look at their latest news. Here's a list of their press releases. And let's just click this one here. Treatments for arthritis. Doesn't look like this is a really good example because they actually made a mistake and they made their link not clickable, so they didn't get any SEO value out of this, so that's no good. That's actually a good example of what not to do. Don't just type in your domain name. Make sure that it is a clickable link. Let's see. Another one on healthcare. And this one's got a bunch of links in it, and they're linking to some of their events. So similar stuff here. Got a nice big headline, body content, get down to the bottom, and it talks a little bit about the company and of course who to get in touch with. So you may be thinking that this is pretty similar to article marketing, and you'd be right. By submitting essentially an article to something like eZine Articles, PR is very, very similar, except we're not just writing about information because we need to think about the journalist who's going to pick this up and what they need to know so that they can write about you. So let's go back to the presentation.